Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of I Can Do This All Day. I'm Dan, the part-time adventurer. That's Mark, the resident Jedi.
Hello there. We're here today to celebrate. It is Monday. Just let me. Do I gotta do this thing? Is that how it works?
No, I'm just going to keep this in.
Oh, okay, whatever. Hello there. Today is a day to celebrate. It's Monday, October 9th, and we are here. And across the nation, we celebrate a legend. Somebody who taught us what it's like to have adventures in babysitting, somebody who taught us what we should do if we've been left home alone, somebody who's taught us what happens after 9 months, how to break in a new stepmom, and walked Harry Potter through his first few years. He's an explorer, a trailblazer, a man to be celebrated. Ladies and gentlemen, we are here to celebrate Christopher Columbus Day.
With the director, Chris Columbus, not that awful man who is a murderer, tyrant, and scoundrel, but Chris Columbus, the director,
Yes, not the slaughterer of indigenous people. No, not that guy.
Not
the guy with the weird hat with the 3 boats. Not that
the
guy.
Originator of Manifest Destiny right there. Just like, I'm gonna fucking take over the world right now, and it's my destiny. So yeah, Chris Columbus, and we're gonna celebrate that with a movie that he directed, which is I think probably a childhood staple for a lot of millennials our age, and
classic.
That is Mrs. Doubtfire. So with Robin Williams, just a feel-good movie for an awful day of celebration for the other Columbus guy. But today, Chris Columbus.
I mean, this movie still makes me sad, though. I just miss Robin Williams.
You know what I miss? I miss Mara Wilson and Matthew Lawrence as kids. Lydia doesn't count. I can't remember what her name is, but the actress who played Lydia, Lisa Jacob, she doesn't count. But kid actors that could actually act. You know, obviously you've only had a few of those as time have gone on. Like you had Dakota Fanning, and Elle Fanning was another, great child actor. Haley Joel Osment for a couple movies, but that's pretty much it. I think.
I think you're forgetting all of the great Chris Columbus child actors, like, I don't know, Macaulay Culkin.
Since then, I'm talking. That was before. That was years ago, motherfucker.
The Harry Potter kids weren't bad. Radcliffe.
Yeah. No, they were, and they were fairly good actors, I suppose. I will go on record though. I will say that Emma Watson was not a great childhood actor.
I don't think Emma Watson gives a shit what you think, but
she's a friend of the podcast. That's fine. Yeah, we've made so many friends. We have so many international listeners.
You know who we don't get along with? Rupert Grint. The ginger hates us.
Oh, I love him though. I'm a fan. It's 50-50 on this podcast. It's a love-hate relationship. But Mrs. Doubtfire, 1993. You've got Robin Williams, the comedic genius. Yes, R.I.P. Tragic. But at the same time, still get a chance to enjoy his performance, his movies, his charisma, his skill. And true story, for me, I was not that big of a Robin Williams fan until this movie. I always thought it was just a little too over the top for me. It wasn't my type of craziness, but his comedic genius and his performing genius in this movie was pretty top notch.
It was absolute. I mean, the range and some of the foreshadowing from this movie, right? Because this came out, Flubber came out after this. All of the really good high octane Robin Williams stuff came out after this. Though Aladdin, like the year before. So I guess you probably did like him. You just didn't know his face.
No. I didn't like. He's very similar in his performance to Jim Carrey to me. Another talent. I respect his talent and his energy that he brings. it's just not my type of in your face
Wait a
uh,
minute.
noise, if you
Wait a
will.
minute. You're telling me Hook, Fern Gully, Aladdin, all these were no's for you?
One movie out of all those movies that you said were okay to me. You have to remember,
Wait,
I
which
did
one?
not
First of all, which one?
Hook. Hook.
Okay.
That was just a good movie. You know, that had a lot of talent in it, and Robin Williams wasn't acting like Robin Williams the character. You know what I mean? Like, there's a difference between his serious acting and his range compared to like I'm just gonna be like in your face stand up comedy, high on cocaine Robin Williams. You know, like that's I don't think that's any secret. There was quite a bit
No, no
of drug
secret.
use in his past, but
No secret.
um that was my thing. Like I didn't necessarily like that style. Not just Robin Williams, but across the board. So for the same reason that people will critique other comedians or actors because they're just like all they are is just super hyper. That was kind of my thing against Robin Williams, but uh, this is something where it completely changed my mind of him as an actor. And then, of course, you see other great movies of his, such as Good Will Hunting and 1 Hour Photo wasn't a great movie, but he was great in it because he showed his acting range. So it's just yeah, just my preference. Not
Yeah.
talking bad about it, just you know, just respecting his ability to change gears into somber, sad, funny, crazy, humorous, just really, really
Yeah.
talented guy.
I think early in his career, a lot of the movies that he did wouldn't have appealed to a young Danny. I think that if you would have received them later when you were ready for those dramatic performances, um, there would have been more appreciation, like a Good Morning Vietnam, Robin
I
Williams.
That was one of the movies I saw quite a bit. I just didn't understand it as much, and my
Yeah,
attention span was like, I don't see him. Like I was thinking, like, oh, it's taking place in Vietnam. There's a war going on. I thought he was going to Arnold Schwarzenegger it up and just be like DJ by day and
he's not that guy.
assassin,
Not that guy,
soldier by
buddy.
night.
Not that guy.
Right.
Not that guy.
Yeah, but that's what
Dead
I always
Poet
look for.
Society, and I just remember as a kid growing up, I remember these obviously Aladdin, but I remember Happy Days and Mork and Mindy. And
Yeah.
maybe it's because I've always been just a hyperactive person. I always appreciated some Robin Williams. And I can't believe you didn't bring up the 1980 classic Popeye with
Oh God,
Shelley
so
Duvall.
awful.
Oh God, I
So
don't know. Oh,
awful.
future episode. Future episode of
Future
how? Just
future
how?
punishment.
Yeah,
That's what it
that's
is. Like,
exactly. Yes.
oh
Oh
gosh.
man. But no, I agree. I think that this movie was a little bit of the renaissance of his post um his his I would say sober career. I mean, you never know what was going on behind the scenes, but I think that he had already had his daughter at this point, and he was really getting into doing things for kids. He had done toys before this movie, which I don't know if you've ever seen that. It's an interesting movie. But this movie just had so much heart, and I think it was, to your point, just a string of Robin Williams movies where there was either just he was like in it for a few minutes and just great at the part he was playing, or he brought all of the heart to the movie, and just like you can't help but love his character in this movie. I don't know if you can love his character's choices, but how can you not love just the heart?
Well, we will discuss those choices in just a little bit.
How
But when did you
convenient.
first when did you first see this movie?
Year, I don't know. I know it was close to when it came out. Not a theater thing in 93 for me, but definitely a cable thing. And I remember seeing it a lot. I mean, it ran a bunch on cable. It's a great movie. But I remember seeing it a ton as a kid. Um, and loving it, again, loving anything with Robin Williams in it. As a youth. What about you? You saw it back in the day, I'm assuming?
Yeah, back in the day, this was given to my family as a Christmas gift, I believe, VHS.
Oh, it was in the
So
collection, not in my collection.
I mean, I wasn't a fan. Like, I wasn't trying to seek this movie out in the theaters anyways. And I was like, okay, well, a VHS tape, I'm gonna watch it. And I watched it. I liked it, and I watched it I played that quite a bit.
Dude,
You know, that
I'll tell
that
you,
was a regular.
I think that maybe we don't talk about it enough, and we don't designate the movies that we talk about, whether they were in the collection or a scant viewing, because of the huge differentiation there is now versus then.
Oh yeah.
Like, we had a core group of movies we could watch because we had them at our fingertips at all time. Like, there was no on demand, there was no, like, cable ran something, and if you had to pee, you missed it. No pausing, no nothing. And those movies that were in the collection, you can remember, you can see the boxes in your head, and you know that those are the ones you watched when you were bored, when there was nothing else on. You just, let's pick one and we're watching this. And those were received so much differently. So while I watched this on cable, like, this is a core memory movie for you, it sounds like.
Oh yeah, for sure. And it's one of those movies that I kind of forget about was in my regular rotation. So that's part of the things where the collection, you bring up a very interesting point. So the collection back in the day, is compared to just regular watching it, is different from a collection now, because a collection now I don't think really doesn't mean anything. You just happen to have the movie.
It evolved to that because we grew up with that small VHS collection, right? Because VHS movies were like $40 back in the day. It wasn't like $5 bin rifling through some shit. Like, it was an investment to watch Mrs. Doubtfire whenever you wanted to. And then we got to this stage where we were buying DVDs with disposable income, and like, half of Best Buy's business model was media. They had all of the DVDs. You can go anywhere to the DVD section, right? And you'd be buying them. And I don't know about you, but I had like bookcases of DVDs. I had a very excellent DVD collection, and then Netflix. And now it's just like, I've been starting to like parse it out. Like, I can't remember the last time I can, because I did it for the podcast, but outside of the podcast, it's very hard for me to remember a time where I'm like, you know what I need to do? I'm going to crack open this physical media and drop it in here, or I'm going to spend $5 and just buy it and never have to find the disc again.
I am a firm believer of, you know, if you like it and you want to support it, or if you just love that movie that much, you go and buy it. You know, so I've done that for, you know, Avengers Endgame, like Infinity War, those movies that I love. And I can't remember, John Wick, I think, was like the last few DVDs that I bought because I just really like the movie. So once I'll have to get John Wick 4 because I just really enjoy it. But yeah, that's just how I am with my collection. In terms of the last time I saw this particular movie, it's actually fairly recent because my wife and I wanted to expose our kids to this movie and have them kind of see what, if they would enjoy the movie. And we were just in for like I think it was like a Friday night movie type of thing. Like we weren't just putting it on just to have stuff in the background. It's like, hey, let's watch this. Mom and I used to really like this movie, and let's see if you enjoy it too.
So you wanted to cue yourself up for a bunch of uncomfortable questions.
No questions. We haven't had any questions other than the fact that, you know, like after a horror movie or during a horror movie, like, wait, what are those people doing there? Like, why are they making those weird noises? Like, obviously it's a sex scene. And it's just kind of funny. Those are the only awkward ones that we have. And it's not even awkward. It's just adult stuff, buddy. That's all.
Oh, nice. You forget kids are dumb. I love it.
Yeah. We lie to our kids all the time. And you will get there where you will lie to your son
there
all the time.
Get there. I just put my kid to bed and he's like, you'll come back. Yeah, I'll check on you in a little bit, buddy. At 9 a.m. when I'm ready to wake you up. That's when I'll check on you. There's a baby monitor. I can see him, all that shit. But yeah.
When there's the questions about like, oh my God, we still do it to this day for our 5-year-old. and he'll say like, we're driving home from wherever we're going for like a weekend fun time, and it's like, can we get Taco Bell for dinner? It's like, oh, sorry, buddy, I think it's closed on Saturdays and Sundays. It's only open on Fridays, like the last time that we got Taco Bell. So we just come up with the most convenient lie, or if it's like, oh, Friday. Oh yeah, I think they closed early because of the rain. We just such we can lie and it's okay. Kids are the only people that it's 100% okay to lie to.
Yeah, that's what they're going to tell their therapist on BetterHelp, who should be sponsoring us, because Danny's kids need therapy, and man, it would be a huge help to everybody.
100% fine. They're all good. 100% fine. If anything, the therapist is going to lie to them and say like, no, I think these sessions are very helpful.
They're going to lie to you. They're going to lie to
yeah. They're going to lie regardless. It doesn't matter. But
this podcast 100% supports the mental health community and do not mean to diminish the effectiveness of help. If you need help, get help.
I do not mean to diminish anything about lying to kids. I 100% wholeheartedly endorse it.
I 100% wholeheartedly endorse this movie, and I literally watched it today in preparation for this podcast because I'm a company man. And I was a little, it holds up. The funny parts of it hold up, but the rest of it I have issue with, and I think that we'll get there.
Interesting.
We'll get there.
Well, before we do, why don't you enlighten the listeners with your version of the plot?
Oh yeah, no problem. Man quits job for moral reasons. Man has blowout job quitting party to spoil his daughters before they're about to lose their house because he quit his job for no real good reason. Wife figures this out and takes him for everything he has. Pays off the judge, and he disguises himself as a woman to win back their love. And in the end, everything is fine.
All right. Well, that is your version of the plot. So let's break into it. So said dad.
Do you have a different version that you would lay out there?
I mean, you know what? It's fairly not as cynical as yours. I would be with okay, I'll go with my version of it, okay? Robin Williams, the guy from Good Morning Vietnam, decides to have a party. And the wife gets super mad at him for having a party because, like, I want to have fun too. And she's like, I want to get divorced because you had this party and I'm pissed off and I'm unhappy with my job and my life with you. So they get divorced, and Robin Williams, the guy from Good Morning Vietnam, is like, I need to see my kids and I'm going to do anything to see them. So he goes to desperate measures, goes to Uncle Frank and Aunt Jack to get a makeover and get made up as an old woman. And he starts to melt the hearts of everyone, not after a few hiccups, but melts the heart of the entire family, winning them over again until they find out, surprise, it's been dad all along. Then they make up and everything seems to turn out okay, and he makes a lot of money by doing a TV show as the said old woman.
And there you have it. No mention of James Bond at all. Though he
we'll talk about that in the podcast. I don't think that's not a crucial part to the plot.
No, but without James Bond, there would be no drive-by fruiting.
There you go.
The highlight of the film.
So let's talk about Robin Williams and Sally Field, though. So the two main characters, the people that kind of just hold this movie together, not the charm of the movie, but they're the ones that kind of hold it together, and they have a nice little polarizing duality for their characters and what they bring to the table, and for the kids, of how they treat them and how the kids react and interact with them. So what did you think about their dynamic and their relationship? So I kind of poked fun of it at the beginning. You said it a little bit differently, but any insight on that?
So it didn't, when you look at their jobs and what they do, and like in where they live, the whole divorce thing makes no sense to me. They make the art of voice acting off to be like a janitor's job. Like the guy has no money to win any kind of divorce settlement, and that he can't afford to just handle shit in his what has to be a multi-million-dollar house in San Francisco. Right?
I don't think it was that expensive around that time.
It's like the Full House.
It wasn't. I don't know if it was multi-million.
Either way,
it was maybe like
it is an upper middle class house. If not, right?
Sure.
It's a high-end dwelling. But they made it seem like he was making no money doing voice acting, and that they could just fire him, like he wouldn't have a contract and be represented by one of the most powerful unions in Hollywood.
Yeah, like, very, very true.
The whole gamut of, well, fuck you, buddy, I'm out. Like, no, that's not how that works.
Yeah.
And the petting zoo people, for the cop to meet Sally Fields when she gets home, and the petting zoo people, like, they would have a permit, or they would have permission. Like, no business is going to show up at your house without knowing that they can do that there. Like, what business owner is going to put thousands of dollars of animals in danger? Like a shady one, I'm sure. The only realistic part about the beginning of this movie is the angry old Karen that calls the cops because people are having fun. That's the most realistic part about the beginning of this movie, because then they apparently, after 15 years, no, I didn't know you were this guy that was going to have a party with the kids and be crazy. Like, had no idea. And there's no way that she, with her amazing job, and him with what has to be a well-paying job, don't have a housekeeper or a cleaning lady. You don't have the messiest husband on the planet and not have a cleaning lady. Like, none of this makes sense.
I think
which shocked me, because I loved this movie as a kid, and with no bearing on relationships, I didn't even think about it. What did you think? Am I wrong? Am I just out of line? Am I being a little too realistic?
Yeah, I think once again you're picking a battle that no one cares about, that you're going too uber realistic on stuff. So I think you're nitpicking here. I thought you're absolutely right on the neighbor, but I mean, do you think people care that, this isn't a movie about economics of the household? It's about the relationships of the household and how broken they are. But
the whole base of it, of him only getting a day of unsupervised time with his kids, 1 day a week, if she made more money, she'd be paying alimony. They'd be splitting the house. There'd be money going around. Like, it wouldn't be like, you're an unemployed miscreant and you only get 1 day and you have to prove yourself. That's not how the legal system works. Like,
if you have a good lawyer,
and divorce court are two different courts.
If
none of this makes sense.
I don't know about that. If you have a good lawyer and your ex or soon to be ex-spouse has no income, that's a pretty easy win for a legal battle. And plus, I mean, it's something that happens
they don't
all
have
the time.
They don't have. Hang on, you're wrong, because if your spouse has a good lawyer and you have no income, you're entitled to a shitload of alimony. I'm just saying, like, there's formulaic legal pieces to this that make no sense.
I don't care about this stuff.
I don't either. I'm just saying, you asked me about their dynamic and the relationship in the start of it.
That has nothing to do with the dynamic of
movie.
But it's not the dynamic of the relationship. You're nitpicking the realities of this. You're nitpicking the Hollywood movie.
The reality of the relationship is who stays together for 15 years and doesn't know the husband or wife that they have.
Everyone does. So many people. How many times do you look at your wife and just be like, I didn't know that about you. I didn't know you like that, or I didn't know you.
At this
I
point,
guarantee you.
not very often.
I guarantee you, a majority of the people that are listening to this and the people that are married out there, there are plenty of things that they do not know about their spouse. Guarantee it. And I'm not saying they're all bad things. I'm saying there's a lot of things that can unfold over the time and course of the marriage, whether it is habits, secrets, quirks, interesting stuff they like even more about their spouse. I don't know. I think this is something that's common in all households, and their blow up, Miranda's blow up, is something that I would probably venture to say that a lot of people who have gotten divorced or want to get divorced have just thought. It's like, I don't know if I love you. Like that was one of the things that like I wanted to bring up was, who was right, who was wrong. So are you team Daniel or are you team Miranda? And based off of what you see in the movies and what caused the spark or lack thereof, which team are you?
I'm fully team Daniel. I mean, who says no party for their kids? Who is this tight ass woman?
We don't know the kids, and apparently he's I think that is just the straw that broke the camel's back. Is that she comes home and she realized her husband's unemployed, and he decides to throw this party that they might not be able to afford. That's technically illegal according to the police officer, but yeah, and the house is trashed. Kids are hanging from chandeliers. They're dancing on tables and stuff. What kind of responsible dad throws that type of party with barnyard animals, kids of all different types of ages, and the parent dancing on the table with them?
You know who's never gonna forget that party?
If you walked into a party and you saw the dad of your son's friend dancing on a table and things are just going crazy, you'd be like, yeah, you're not hanging out with this kid anymore. Like, you're out of here. Let's get the hell out of this guy's a loser.
It's not my fault that Robin Williams in this movie is the original cool mom. I mean, he's not a regular mom, he's a cool mom. And they were having a great time.
The cool moms have a lot of fun, and cool teachers have a lot of fun with students too. And look what happens. I'm just saying
why are you taking my Mean Girls reference and making it pedophilia?
Because I don't watch Mean Girls.
Calm down.
I don't care.
That was for our listeners.
This is
all do. But
this is for the guy who's criticizing the reality of a Chris Columbus, Robin Williams movie. So
it makes no sense. It does not make sense. It's totally erroneous.
Okay. I love how you're getting so fired up about this. It's just like, okay, well, let's move on. Matter.
there's plenty of things in this movie that I'm just like that. I don't know.
So you're team D. I think I'm team Miranda on this one. Like, if I rolled in and that type of stuff was going on, those shenanigans, I would be pissed. Goats eating flowers, like just barnyard animals inside the house, just nuts. I would be furious, absolutely furious.
Way to be the fun sucker.
It's not the fun sucker if you are going home to chaos and you had this nice birthday cake for your son, and it might not be the ideal party for everybody, but at the same time you feel left out, and she's out there working and she slaves away and she gets to clean up. She cleans up the mess. A lot of spouses and married couples probably feel that way. And so it's like I empathize with her. And granted, Daniel's more fun. Of course he's more fun. I would love to be at that party. It's just not a good look for an adult male to have a bunch of kids at his house, inside of his house, while he's dancing around as if it's a club in the early 2000s. Just not. No. It's a Mark Chimura look. It's not very good.
As Martin Short would say, every party needs a pooper, and the pooper is you.
Yeah, the party pooper is the one that was criticizing the reality of this movie. So I don't know.
I don't know. I was loving the party. It's the most memorable. It's one of the most. It's a. It was going to be a core memory for those kids, and now it's not a green core memory. It's a red core memory or a blue core memory. It's a sadness memory.
Oh man.
It went from joy to sadness because of Sally Field. That's why I'm not on Team Miranda.
So we've got this whole movie, right? It's been a while since we've seen it. 1993. So that is 30. Is that 30? Is my math right? 30 years ago?
It may be.
Jesus Christ.
It may be
So
an
that
anniversary year for this film.
30 years, Chris Columbus, fantastic. Not the awful Christopher Columbus, but the director of fantastic
Yeah.
movies, Chris
Not,
Columbus.
not the Explorer.
But this nostalgia in this movie is just crazy. So many things happen in this movie. What are some of your favorite bits that happen?
I think the practical effects montage is really funny and it's very topical. And I never got it as a kid until like I watched it again and I got all of the references of the famous people that they were like the Streisand piece and all of these like different people they were going after, the Liza, the whole
You know,
stack of celebrities they dressed him up as and just let him riff on is it was really funny.
you
It was
didn't
really
get the
good.
fact that they were riffing on Streisand when I think he says Streisand. It's like he's
I you
singing a
know,
Streisand song.
dude, at 10, which is how old I was when this movie came out, I didn't know who Barbara Streisand was.
Hmm, okay,
Did you?
I
Were
figured
you
it out.
watching Yentl in 1993? Like,
I have no.
were you all up in that?
I still don't even know
Watching
what Yentl
Cabaret and
is.
shit?
Still have no idea what Yentl is.
Yeah.
Cabaret. I thought that was like. Did they remake that later on? Never watched it, but
It was also
yeah,
Liza
Barbara
Minnelli,
Streisand.
but that's okay.
Oh, whoever, whatever. But yeah, that whole the Uncle Frank and Aunt Jack scene is one of my favorites, just because it was just funny to me. And I didn't think anything of it when I was younger. I didn't think like, huh, this is kind of strange. I just thought like, oh, this is funny. This is just entertaining. I thought the guy's voice was kind of odd. He had like, the scratchy, deep, like Selma and Patty voice from The Simpsons. But yeah, it was a fun little ditty, and I love the fact that they showed some of the practical effects, as you said, and kind of just like the makeup process of it. That was like legit. That was as real as you can get as to Hollywood magic happening right there on the screen for the movie that you're watching.
I agree. I agree. And I'm a fan of practical effects, so there's a reason that I love it. But it in rewatching it, I'm like, how did you not go right to a mask if you knew how to do it? Like, how you expect to make the guy up to where his family wouldn't see his face at some point?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you're probably right, but I don't know if it was one of those things where they were just thinking, oh, maybe we can do this without having to break out plaster.
Maybe we
I
could
think
talk him
that's.
out of it.
But that little scene right there, he's like, "I need you to make me a woman." He's like, "I'm so happy." It's just such a funny
Is
funny
so good.
interaction.
Is
Yeah.
so good. I think that it's almost as it's the winner with a close second being like the prank call montage
Oh my
where
God,
he's
so
like
good.
it. I don't know why he needed the listing, but I loved it. I loved all of the different prank calls
Yeah,
and
I need to. What's their phone number again? I need to. Maybe she changed
yeah,
the number. Maybe that's what the reasoning is to
yeah.
as to
I
why.
mean, you
But
never know. That was a thing and is a thing. Caller ID also wasn't a thing because doing that now, I don't even know how you could do it. Like
yeah,
my phone even tells me when it's a telemarketer. Like, oh, the things that we see in movies that could not even be possible anymore. That was
yeah.
pre Star 69 even. Like, oh,
I'm pretty sure caller ID was a thing, but only the rich had it. I
Yeah.
was not one of those people. So,
No, you didn't have the little white box.
oh man, no, no. But yeah, I thought that was awesome. Like this is where you get to see Robin Williams in his element, where he just performs to the best of his ability. And I'm curious as to how many of those were just completely improvised and he just kind of went off and did his own thing. But I really enjoyed the
I
lady who
feel like
called up
I
where
feel
she
like
was just
there's
like, I was in a band, severe tire damage. It's like, what is going on right now?
I've got to think that
Uh,
there's somewhere on the cutting room floor, lost to time, amazing, amazing like outtakes from this scene. Like, because this was pre gag reel,
yeah,
where that stuff just got let go. If these were the ones that were in, how raunchy, off, or just wrong were the ones that didn't make it in? If severe tire damage was the weird one, and we know who was riffing these, how great were the others?
yeah. I would love to see that. I'm curious if there's like some footage that exists out there, and if they have it, Chris Columbus, not the explorer, the director, you should release those, please.
Let them free.
So the music in this movie, during that makeup scene where like they start hitting it hard with some of like the um Luck Be a Lady Tonight, just such a classic song. Maybe not something that we would listen to on the radio or was on our iPods back in the 2000s, but it's just one of those songs that became more memorable because of this movie. And one of my other favorite little scenes in this is when they're playing Aerosmith, Dude Looks Like a Lady. And it's that montage, right? Montage of Mrs. Doubtfire's inner groove of everything. She's just slaying it in terms of housekeeping and playing soccer at the park with the kids and vacuuming and doing that cool little vacuum trick. Did you ever try to do that vacuum trick just after seeing this movie?
No, I didn't, because I didn't have that kind of vacuum.
What
No
what do you mean
uprights,
that
no
type of
uprights.
vacuum?
We had the one with the one that you had to drag the big, like the big thing with, not a canister. I don't know what they're
Oh,
called.
okay, okay, okay. All right. I
It's a
was like,
different, it's a different world. It's a different life.
okay,
But I like in my adult view, right, of that, and what you're talking about, the Sinatra song, like the most masculine singer, showing in the, leading us through the scene where he works to become feminine, right? And then the just happenstance of the Aerosmith song, like somebody heard that and was like, I mean, it makes sense, let's put it
yeah.
in.
Why wouldn't we put this
What
song in here?
this is this this is a song about what this movie is about, truly. Let's go. This is why they had to bust out the plaster, because every time they tried, dude did not look like a lady. But now we're
Yeah.
here. We're here
With
and we're winning.
with the fat rubber suit on and everything. But the music just hit really, really good, and not just the popular music, but the score as well. It's just like that fun, playful score all across the board for everything. But you feel for the characters as the music is going on. So, for example, the frantic music that's happening during the dinner scene. As he's going back and forth, you got some of the mellow parts, and then you get the frantic scenes where he's trying to change out of his dress and his fat suit into his normal suit and clothes and everything. Like you can feel like, oh, tension, tension. Is he going to be able to pull this off? I don't know. He's actually doing a pretty good job of it. So that hit pretty good for me. The especially I didn't realize it at the time when I was younger. I still enjoyed a lot of music and all different types of music, but that's another reason why I think this movie does so well is because it's a perfect blend of that. And you do have popular music in there, but it makes sense. It's fitting within everything, even though it's like a little bit of a different take of it. But you've got one of my favorite songs ever. You had House of Pain Jump Around for the Party, which is another great song. It will never get old. Love it. Absolutely love it. But music, fantastic.
For me, the music starts this movie off with the the operatic piece that Robin Williams nails at the beginning.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
And it
very good.
just sets the table for all of the power that he's about to drop. Like, he's about to do the thing. And I'll tell you why you like the score of this film so much is because it's one of the great cinematic composers of all time that worked on this. And I don't know if you would recognize the name Howard Shore, basically because the only like TV or movie composers that most people know are John Williams and Danny Elfman. Like, those are the ones, right? But Howard Shore has done so many amazing movies, from The Fly to Big to Silence of the Lambs. He did
Yeah,
he
he's done.
obviously
He
did
has a really lengthy resume
he
of
has an
everything.
insane resume of movies that like are really core memory movies. Um like I was looking, I know he did Dogma. I saw that your Clerks is in the background. He did not do Clerks because Clerks was, but he did all of the Lord of the Ring movies to touch on the more recent stuff. Like, this is somebody that wrote a good amount of the supporting music of just so many great movies. He's been a composer for over 100 films, and a lot of them are just like really, really strong movies. So I agree. I think that the Howard Shore scoring in this just hit you in all the right places at all the right times, because the guy's fucking amazing.
Yeah, definitely adds to it. I think if you don't have that type of score in the movie, it doesn't do as well. And I think there's no secret that I appreciate that type of element for any film is the music. So yeah, expertly done. Howard Shore, friend of the podcast. Kudos to you, man.
Should be.
Howie, just next time we'll see you at Thanksgiving, Howie.
I mean, you and your 3 Oscars can always come by. Always welcome.
Any other bits that you had that as you were watching it again that you were like, oh man, I forgot this was in here, or like, oh, this is a little bit different. Anything like that?
I don't want to rain on the parade of happiness that is this movie, but man, it just feels weird. Not like weird, but it's like a topic that it's just like, could this movie get made now? Like, if you scrape away the cross-dressing portion of it, the whole movie is hilarious. All of the one-off to impromptu, like, I wonder if the drive-by fruiting was improv or it was written on the page, right? I wonder all of these different things that Robin Williams did when he was haphazardly playing a woman, and like, he gets on the bus and his legs are open and his hairy legs, and the bus driver's trying to like lure him back to his lair.
I like that in a woman. It's healthy,
Yeah,
natural.
natural. No,
Such a creepy dude.
Well,
Creepy
it's
ass bus
creepy.
driver.
It's creepy, and it's amplified because we all know how hairy Robin Williams is just by his forearms. And it's just like, oh God, that guy would fuck a Yeti. I don't even know what's going on here, but man. But I think the integration, and I forgot Pierce Brosnan was in this movie. And I caught a piece of, when Robin Williams was trying to tell the fucking the divorce parole officer lady, who is my least favorite Karen in this movie, what he did for a job. He did a James Bond impression, and James Bond is in the movie. I was like, that's great. I didn't catch that until right now, and I'm loving it.
What about the kids? So you got Lydia, Chris, and Natalie as the kids. It's a crucial part in the movie because I think without their reactions and without their struggles of trying to get through or trying to make sense of their parents getting divorced, which they didn't want to happen. And, they're super sad, but they prefer living with mom, and their dad's place is a freaking dump. It's kind of going back and forth on that. And what did you think about their dynamic, and like, how do you think that they played their roles? Was it too on the nose of like, oh yeah, we got this kid that does that, and you got the cute girl, and then you got the angsty teenager? Like, did you feel that at all, or were you okay with this as you were watching it again?
So I'm gonna call out something that you just brought up. I don't remember these kids being as entitled little shits as they were.
Oh, really?
Like,
Okay.
oh, dad's place sucks. Shut up, kid. Dad is the reason you have that other house.
Was
You
it?
suck.
I don't think so, because Miranda had the more established job.
Voice actors make more. I don't know. I don't know. Again, this movie doesn't make sense. But I don't remember the entitlement. I think the thing about the act, I mean, the Lawrence boy, whatever, the older girl, meh. I can't believe that this was Mara Wilson's first movie and started her like decade long run of the best, most heartfelt, sweet actress ever. I don't know about you. I was a Mara Wilson fan, like
I
Matilda, all of the stuff that she was in. Loved it. Of
uh,
course you didn't. Of
why would,
course you
like,
didn't like it because you suck.
oh man, I really like these movies with kids. Like, no, man, like,
Because
I
I
wanted
was
to
a
watch
kid.
cool. I was not a kid. I was an adult
Apparently not.
trapped in a
Apparently you left the womb with a W-2 and
I
needed to
was an
do
adult
taxes.
trapped in a boy's body. And
I
I
mean, your
had
wife would argue that that's still a problem.
I have an adult taste in movies, and very few kid movies was I like, oh yeah, I want to watch that. I think the only one that was kid, like bona fide kid movie for me, may have been Homeward Bound. And I just like that just because I always wanted a dog, and I never
I
never
like
got one
puppies.
until adults. So but
Is it
yeah,
because
so
they
you've
just
got
always made you watch Old Yeller and you finally got a happy dog movie to watch?
No, I never watched that. That we would watch that shit in school. And it was just so boring. Like, some of the classics that they would put on in school, and some of the kids would be like, "Oh man, this is my favorite." Like, I'd be like, "Okay, nerd." Like, that's what I would think in my head. It's like, have you seen Terminator? Have you seen Back to the Future? You want to watch?
Do you
I don't
even
know.
movie, man?
Yeah, it's like, you want to watch Swiss Family Robinson, which, by the way, that movie was actually pretty cool. But watching that movie now, so not so not right. There's a lot of wrong things about that movie. But I wanted to say a fun little fact about Mara Wilson's character as Natalie is, do you know who unsuccessfully auditioned for that role?
I don't. Who?
Blake Lively. One Blake Lively married to Ryan Reynolds. So that would have been very interesting. I don't know if Blake Lively did a whole lot of childhood acting, but it was a very interesting fun fact that I saw. Who knows if it's true, but if it's on Wikipedia, it must be, right?
Oh, totally. Yeah, no. And didn't I thought Blake Lively did like a fair amount of acting in her
If
youth.
it was in kid movies, I wouldn't know.
You wouldn't know.
So with these kids, all joking aside, do you think that this is a realistic portrayal of kids reacting to a very serious situation of divorce? And what did you feel anything for them? Did you like, oh man, I feel sorry for them, or did you feel just sorry for Daniel?
I think divorce is hard on everybody. I think as a kid, it wasn't like a quantified thing. Though I had a divorced parent at that point in life, right? And she got remarried. It's a whole thing. But yeah, I did not grasp onto that as a child. I just enjoyed the movie. And as an adult rewatching it, it's still like I don't look at the kids' reaction as anything to anything because kids don't know shit.
It's like, I don't give a shit about what they think. They're wrong. That's so funny. No, I actually I am more understanding of their reactions to everything, because here's this nanny coming in and it's like, yeah, why can't dad watch us? Like, yeah, he has a crappy apartment, but why can't he just watch us? Like there's that preference of like, nope, dad's better than everyone. And then all of a sudden the tides turn. And it's like, hey, you know what? She's mom's dating this Stu guy. And he's actually a nice guy, drives a nice car, he's really nice to us. And there is the jealous factor, as one should be, because he still loves his wife and he loves his kids. And this guy, Dunmire, Stu Dunmire, is encroaching on his home that he's lived in for so long. But it's so interesting in this viewing that I had for it is that, like, yeah, I don't see Stu Dunmire as being a bad guy. The worst thing that he does is he calls Daniel a loser, right? And when he's at the country club, he's talking about how, like, what can I say? The guy's a loser. Most people are going to probably react that way talking about their current girlfriend's ex-husband, right? There's a reason why they got
Well,
divorced, and it's only going by what she tells him. So
yeah,
the
that's
guy's
that's
probably a loser.
I agree with. I don't know about that. I think that he's probably more parroting Sally Field's negative uh, uh evaluation. I
Oh,
mean,
I
I
don't
don't
know.
think.
I don't think that at all. I think he wholeheartedly believes that he's a loser because he's no longer in their kids' lives for reasons. So
Yeah,
I don't
because
know.
for
You
some
thought
reason in this movie, the dad is demonized and only given a single day. Again, the circumstances of the divorce really are weird for me.
it's so funny that you say that because that happens to so many dads out there. Like there are ads on the radio that like dads have rights too, and like there's attorneys that fight for dads' rights specifically. So it's funny that you say that because in my opinion of it, and I know a few people that have been divorced, and like you only know the story of what you hear, right? You can only go by what you say. And I take things with a grain of salt, or at least with a little bit of reserved uh, for my
I
own
just
opinion and my insight. But yeah, it's interesting that
I
you say
don't know.
that. But
I don't know. The divorce thing, I try and just ignore it to enjoy the movie. But again, like the quick turnaround, the one and done court case kind of thing, like that's just not how that shit works.
if you were in Stu's position, right? You were dating a woman, has kids. Uh, I mean, really, what would you do in that situation based off of that dynamic, right? You got
I'm not
the
even the guy
girlfriend.
that you can ask that question to. I don't know how you can bring a strange guy around your kids that quickly after your divorce. Like all of that is very ick to me. Like it's
So
like what are again, Stu's not the bad guy here. What is
okay,
this woman
that's
doing bringing a strange man around her kids immediately after her divorce? First guy that hits on her, she is hitting it. Thank
not a
God she didn't ride the bus.
not a strange guy. She knew him from back in the day.
Yeah, but the first time he shows interest, she's in it. She's in it. She loves hairy-chested men in this movie, and she is all over Dunmire, Stu Dunmire.
It's funny that that's in real life. That's usually what happens. You get divorced from your spouse, and more times than not, it's a old acquaintance or a person that you knew from back in the day, and all of a sudden they get together. And I've seen a few people who have gotten divorced, and all of a sudden it's like I've seen where they all get back together from like whether it's high school or college, like, oh yeah, we used to see each other back in the day, or maybe they didn't see each other. Some of the funniest, not, and I don't mean to poke fun of anyone who's ever done this. I don't. It's more of just ironic and coincidental. Oh, I knew this person back in the day and we never really had romantic feelings for each other, but they just happened to pop back into my life and they were very supportive at the time. And now we're back together, are super happy. And now we're going to get married. So I don't fault Miranda, right? Because when it all comes down to it, was she in her opinion, it was a loveless marriage. He loved her, but maybe she just didn't feel appreciated, or she just had that fill of Daniel, which I do not blame anyone if he is that irresponsible, throwing a great party, but that irresponsible, that's just liability and lawsuits waiting to happen. If you want to get real about that party situation, that's the most realistic thing that you can talk about right there if you want to bring it down. But yeah, it's a interesting way for us to be able to look at that from an objective type of view. And I'm glad that you said that Stu's not the bad guy, because I don't think he ever was. He wasn't the bad guy. If anything, even though I was kind of stating that I was Team Miranda in the case of the party and everything. I think she's the bad guy, and you for reasons that you said, like, hey, you bring in the strange guy, which she knew him from what for high school or college or whatever it is, and yeah, it is that weird dynamic where you hear some people where if they're divorced or maybe they're just single parents, it's like, oh, I don't bring people that I date around my kids until these things happen, right? But for her, it's just like, oh, he was at my firm and now we're just talking business and now we're hitting
Yeah. Again, hugely irresponsible woman. Not Team Miranda.
it. Yeah. Yeah. But is it irresponsibility, or is it just reverting back to like her younger self of like,
It's not
I'm a
Revertigo.
cool mom. I'm a cool woman. I want to have fun. I deserve to have fun.
You know what it seems like to me? It seems like somebody who made a snap decision to end her marriage and now is going through a midlife crisis of this isn't what I wanted. Oh, look, I can be fun, kids. Look, I found you a new dad. I'm so fun. It's a woman who needed the counseling that she should have gotten with her husband and not just to go willy-nilly and run crazy. Again, you
Snap
can't,
judgment.
there's so many things in this movie that if you dissect them, they just are just
But isn't that just very similar to real life, though? There's a lot of divorces and a lot of relationships that end or start because of like it's almost unbelievable. It's like, wait a second, you guys knew each other for how long? And you're getting married or
no.
getting
You're
divorced or
I
whatever.
think you're missing some of the dynamic of those. The people who start relationships very quickly after they get divorced usually started those relationships while they were still married.
Sure, sure. Which that's real life, but we can only go by what is happening in this particular movie. But um it's still, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. I think this is very realistic in comparison to like you thinking like, oh, this isn't believable at all. Like, I don't know, man. There are some things that have happened in real life with people for very unbelievable reasons, yet they happen.
I agree. I think that all of it is a great narrative to take them through the adventure of Robin Williams pelting him with fruit.
That was one bit that I didn't really find that funny. A
What?
few of my friends who watched that movie where they would talk about like, oh, it was a run by fruiting. I was like, that was to me was not even a great joke. Like, yes, I get it. It rhymes with shooting, and he threw a lime at his head, and it was excellently acted and portrayed by Pierce Brosnan as he got hit, and he's just like, "What the fuck?" Like who threw? Why did you throw a piece of fruit at me? And Daniel just plays it off. Mrs. Doubtfire plays it off, and it's a charming scene, but I just didn't like the line. Run by fruiting, not my favorite line.
That line was like in the trailers. I was just disappointed that Remington Steele and James Bond could not figure out that based on the trajectory that it was the obvious perpetrator was this old woman with a really good arm.
So that wasn't exactly a heartfelt moment between the two. They were kind of, giving jabs at each other at that little pool
We're,
bar scene. But what about, the reveal as the back and forth in the restaurant? So let me hear your thoughts about that restaurant scene. What were your thoughts about going into it this last previous viewing?
it played the way I remembered. and I loved the back and forthness of it. And I felt the way that the alcohol really ruined everything. Like, oh, I got too drunk. I just couldn't do it anymore. But it was really funny that the dichotomy of the scene was, on one hand, he won, and on the other hand, he didn't. So he pulled off half of it, and he pulled off the half that really won him the other half in the end, right? But yeah, I thought it was it you knew that it was the charade had to break at some point, right? Like, there's no way he could keep this going. And the fact that it got this far during this resort situation, I don't know how that made sense, but yeah, it got him to the Scooby-Doo moment, and his makeup didn't stick right, and he at least saved the dude that was boning his wife, even though he was the reason that he was choking.
How delicious did that jambalaya look?
So good.
Those pieces of shrimp, like the size of,
it makes me want to go to
fist.
NOLA. It makes me want to go down to New Orleans and get some good jambalaya and some barbecue shrimp and some po' boys and just enjoy some amazing cuisine. I want to know what resort's making it that good, though.
What was that? I mean, it was Bridges, her favorite restaurant. That's what.
Oh yeah.
It wasn't the resort. They went to the
Bridges.
country club earlier, and then Bridges, 7 o'clock. Bridges, my favorite restaurant. And yeah, he gets double booked, and I love the back and forth between everything. It was just such a fun scene. But there is that reveal at the end where it doesn't make sense to me. It didn't make sense to me back when I was younger. It didn't make sense to me now, where she does the Heimlich, shrimp goes popping, completely whole, by the way. So it's not
savage,
like,
man.
That
savage
dumb
man
bastard,
just honking that shit.
Dumb bastard doesn't even chew his shrimp. Like, what an idiot. But so he gets done giving the Heimlich, and he's getting up. The mask is off. At that point, he doesn't realize that the mask is off. He just thinks oh, it's fine. And he says, you all right there, buddy? In his normal voice. Why? Why would you do that?
Well, he had to feel it coming down. I don't know.
No, he didn't. Like, if you see his facial reaction in the movie, it's like, he's just like, oh shit, my face is coming off.
Again,
like,
he was drunk. He was drunk.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I guess that's the excuse, but like, he was still trying to hold that all together. Like, if anything, that should have happened like without the mask coming off. And he says it because he's drunk. I think that might have been a better way to have that reaction there. And like, oh yeah, that's why he broke characters, because he's so drunk he forgot which part of the restaurant he was in.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's so two things that bother me. And I won't say bother me, I just didn't think Run by Fruiting was funny, but that scene never really sat right with me, because I always thought to myself, like, why did he talk that way? Doesn't make sense. That's the only time I said that throughout this entire movie.
Fun fact. Bridges Restaurant, real place.
Really?
Real restaurant, still open, still in California.
In San Francisco?
It's in Danville. Downtown Danville, California.
Bridges, 7 o'clock. I want to make a reservation at Bridges at 7 o'clock. Next time I'm in California.
I would guess that that is probably like a fairly hard to get reservation at Bridges. It is outside of San Francisco.
Why have I not been there? I've been to San Francisco like
I
4
don't
times
know.
in the past 6 months.
I don't know why you didn't go to Bridges.
Do they have jambalaya?
I will say, for those listeners watching on YouTube, you may have seen my attention move from here to here, and I did check their dinner menu, and I did not see jambalaya, but jambalaya is a seasonal dish.
There's son of a bitch. God damn it.
They do have a Cajun ham Benedict for brunch. So they may bring the jambalaya in and out, but you could do, some private dining and ask the chef. I would like a jambalaya based dining experience.
Is that really the logo of the original restaurant, like that's in Mrs. Doubtfire. Because if next time if I go out to the Bay Area, I am fucking going to Bridges restaurant.
So
and
I
I'm
don't
gonna make a
remember the
reservation at
logo.
7.
I don't remember the logo in the movie, but the website of the restaurant literally says, after the release of the motion picture Mrs. Doubtfire, in which one of our most memorable comedy reveal scenes of all time was filmed, Bridges Restaurant and Bar received nationwide acclaim.
God,
So
I gotta go back.
This is 100% a real place. And
Sweet.
yeah, they have culinary genius chef Kevin Ginn rocking their shit with European and Asian influences.
Listeners, if I make a reservation at Bridges at 7, or if I even just get a chance to go to Bridges, I will do a video of me jumping over the counters exactly how Robin Williams did and just be like, help is on the way. And they will say like, yeah, this happens at least twice a week.
It'll be like Pretty Woman. Happens all the time.
Yeah. Oh my
So
gosh.
you get the Pretty Woman reference, but not the Mean Girls reference. You're terrible.
No, I got the Mean Girls reference. I just don't care. That's the difference. I've seen like multiple reels and TikToks of moms trying to do that in front of their teenage kids and like, stop quoting Mean Girls, mom. So yeah, it's fine. I don't. And by the way, you didn't even say the quote right. So for all the listeners who watch Mean Girls, he didn't even get the quote right. So
the fact that you downtrade it and then you just told me I didn't get it right is
that's
exactly
the reason why I didn't care.
It's exactly the reason why we do this and why this is the perfect combination.
The hypocrisy is strong.
All of your, yes, it's so strong. It's so good.
It needs to be. If you're gonna come, you better come correct. So you better say the goddamn line. I'm super. I'm still super excited about Bridges.
Dude, if there's anything that for our listeners that want a little insight into the people that bring you this excellent podcast, Dan will eat at any restaurant that is famous, and Dan is kind of a foodie.
I know, I'm full out foodie.
I mean, he will travel out of his way when traveling for work or for home to absolutely love on some really amazing food. And
as everyone should, in my opinion.
No, Dan lives in Flavortown.
Flavortown. Oh man. So all right, so the reveal happens. What are you feeling right now for as an adult looking back at the movie? What are you feeling after, like, Natalie has her like, daddy, like the little shocked look?
I'm just trying to figure out how big of a bill there's going to be for a San Francisco based like therapist to walk poor little Mara Wilson back out of cross-dressing daddy, and how at the end of this movie, when this character still gets to exist on TV forever, as beloved as Mr. Rogers, like, oh, this poor girl. Oh.
Did you think anything weird about that, when you were younger, when you watched this?
No, because I was an idiot, because I was a kid. I was just like, oh, it's cool. Oh, they got back together. Their dad's so cool.
Yeah, but they did get back together. That's the thing.
But I mean, they got to be a fan. They got, they did the blended thing, whatever.
Yeah, that is. I didn't really. I must be just getting old to where things I pick up more, and it is. I recognize the fact that, like, oh yeah, here's a nice heartwarming scene. Like, you start to feel good at those moments. At least I do. So yeah, I like the fact that was the case. It was very cool that he was able to take Mrs. Doubtfire, the character he put so much time and effort into, and was able to monetize it. Like Mrs. Doubtfire, like if you went into modern day, like what would you? I think Mrs. Doubtfire ends up on TikTok and Reels.
She's Miss Rachel, but older.
I don't even know who Miss Rachel is. Who's that?
Miss Rachel is a YouTube personality that teaches kids things.
Oh,
Ch-
once again,
Miss,
another kid thing that
yo,
I don't pay attention
there's
to.
kids that cosplay as Miss Rachel. She is a celebrity, and like this woman literally wears t-shirts and an overall and does preschool lessons on the YouTube. So yeah,
Never heard of her. Just looked her up.
your kids are
No
too
idea
old.
who she is.
Your kids are too old, but that's okay. Um, yeah, I don't. What did your kids watch as kids? Like what kids programs were going on?
Terminator, Back to the Future. No, I'm sorry, that was talking about myself. Mickey
Oh,
Mouse Clubhouse, Bear in the Big Blue House. I don't know if you've ever seen that.
yeah,
My
yeah.
wife
I
was really
dig
into that.
Henson, so of course I have.
I never heard about it until I got married. My wife was showing it to my oldest,
Yeah,
and I was like, "What the heck is this?" And I'd never heard of it. Now it's on Disney Plus. Crazy.
yeah, it's on the
But
plus. Yeah, no,
yeah,
my
that
son's
stuff.
just on. He's like 2.5, and he's just on the Mickey Mouse. But it's the pre. It's like the Miss Rachel's like a one, in between 1 and like 4. She's got like
Hmm.
the Barney demographic or
Okay.
the early Sesame Street demographic. Same thing, but on YouTube and stuff like that for all these Gen Z parents and millennial parents, of which I am
Gotcha.
one.
Okay.
But yeah,
All
no.
right then.
But yeah,
Yeah,
I dig that his character became kind of what we loved as kids, like that one person talking to you through the TV. It was very like a female Mr. Rogers.
would you do a remake, or would you want a remake of this movie?
Out of respect for Robin Williams, no, on one hand. And on the other hand, could you do this movie now?
I don't think you can, because the current climate of people saying like, "Oh, movies have gone woke" and everything, like there would be such backlash for Robin Williams one. People would just be like the diehard fans would be like, "Oh, I don't know why they're remaking movies," blah 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 blah. And then there's the people like, "I don't
Well,
want to
there's a
see
very
this woke shit," like that's where like there would be whatever they did with it, they would be wrong. Whatever they did with it. And I
and
think that they would just be critiqued and just
yeah,
not well
no,
received.
no. And whatever actor went in to do this would be crucified because one, we're more informed about the struggle of people who are living in a body or a life that they don't feel is their own, and it in a way marginalizes that, right? Because it just lets this straight white man do his thing. But it also, like, I think it does it messes with the family dynamic and the kids piece of it, right? I think that there's a lot to your point that the political climate would come after it, and the audience that isn't its target audience would be the reason it doesn't get made.
Which there should be like a huge demand for this because everybody gets divorced nowadays. So
Yeah,
it's
but
like, why
everybody,
don't they come up with this?
yeah, but all the red states want to ban any conversations about why is he dressed like a lady. I'm surprised that Aerosmith song isn't banned because they're you're alluding to the possibility, and there's such a huge amount of transphobia out there that it always gets down to this level of depravity, not just let somebody live their life, right? Like
Yeah.
it gets to such a crazy level. And I agree with you. The political vitriol would be crazy. And like I would guess that I wonder, like it makes you wonder, like, okay, is this movie being taken out of like the library collection? Are towns that do movie nights, they can't show this? No fucking way. Like all of that. This movie is a treasure, and it's also probably going to end up, to your point, 20 years from now, if you don't have a hard copy of it, are you going to be able to find it?
Maybe not. But we end on a serious note, but I think we need to make sure that we ask the question. Mark, when it comes to Mrs. Doubtfire in celebration of Columbus Day, The director, not the awful explorer guy. Mrs. Doubtfire, can you do this all day?
I've explored a lot in my brain about this movie. You may say that I've sailed very far to come to this answer, and I did a lot of searching. But I as much as I don't know how I would explain it, and I don't know what the overall political climate would say about it, I'm just gonna say that I've loved it for a long time, and I'm gonna continue loving it. I would build a Mrs. Doubtfire statue. I celebrate it, and I can do it all day. Do you want to join me in this Columbus Day celebration of Mrs. Doubtfire?
As long as it's the director, not the awful explorer, yes.
Always the director.
Because he was a murderer, tyrant, and scoundrel. Christopher Columbus, the
bad
explorer.
man. They should take down all of his statues and replace them with Robin Williams statues, and not just of Mrs. Doubtfire, just random characters. Mork from Ork, Upside Down, Patch Adams. Though that movie was kind of terrible and sad.
The guy from 1 Hour Photo. Yeah, absolutely.
The weird dude. Weird dude.
The stalker, weird guy.
Yeah.
So when it comes to this movie, there is, and I'll kind of hit the normal things that I'll talk about. Nostalgia's there. You have so many cool like '90s references because that was the time frame. But you also have a lot of nostalgia in terms of like the music. You got the Streisand pieces in there. You got the Sinatra pieces in there. You have just a expert use of music, which is always high in my marks, especially for the score, but the popular music as well. So you got the perfect blend. It made me like Aerosmith a little bit more just because of that that montage of everything going together. So I was like, okay, cool. Aerosmith, fine. Very, very cool. Weird song that I never heard before, but I'm into it now.
It's a deep cut.
And it's you got the music, you got the nostalgia. Expert performance from Robin Williams, and I want to say you have an expert performance from Mara Wilson, but also you have a little bit of that expertise from Sally Field. You know, like I was never a big Sally Field fan, and I always thought that she was a see you next Tuesday in this movie. But watching it again, you get to see her range as, oh, you are what a lot of, and I won't even say women, but a lot of partners in a relationship, if they feel undervalued or if they feel overworked and underappreciated, that's a perfect representation. And I can see why some of those people will fly off the handle, because I've seen some of those people fly off the handle and get divorced and get into major arguments. So it's like, wow, okay, I can respect the fact that it's so realistic that you think it's not realistic because it's so close to home that it's like, wow, this really happens. And I just enjoyed the movie overall. The San Francisco setting. I mean, who's not going to go to Bridges after this episode? We're all going to buy plane tickets to San Francisco and just fucking eat there at 7. Meet you at 7.
Gotta be at 7. Is that 7 Pacific, 7 Central, or 7 Eastern?
Oh, it's always 7 p.m. at Bridges, so it doesn't matter. But I can say this is probably a movie that we haven't talked about a movie in a while that I've just been like, yes, I can do this all day, wholeheartedly endorse, no ifs, ands, or buts, all the way. Yes.
Yeah, no, I love your points. There's a reason that Sally Field has 2 Oscars, because she's never made a bad movie. And Mara Wilson's first movie. Fucking crazy.
Pretty awesome. And what better way to celebrate Columbus Day? The director, not the awful shitbag explorer, but what better way than to review this movie? And I really appreciate just talking about this. This made me feel good talking about this movie on this episode, celebrating Columbus Day. Once again, the director, not the shitbag asshole explorer.
Yeah, no, I'm excited that our listeners are going to get to explore this and really help discover a new world that Robin Williams and Sally Field and this amazing cast created. And I hope that they celebrate it for years to come. maybe yearly.
So let your ship sail. And until next time, I'm Dan, the part-time adventurer. That's Mark, the resident Jedi.
Like, subscribe, explore our back catalog of just great episodes, especially our watch-alongs. We want to take you on a journey to discover the parts of these movies that we really enjoyed, and we would love more suggestions on movies that you think would really strike those nostalgia strings, and also bonus points if you can add in a great restaurant that we can eat at after in reference to these films. So yeah, keep on exploring, keep the wind behind you and the sails full, and we'll talk to you next time.